Hey friends, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Harry and I'm a third year paramedic student studying at Victoria University in Australia. I'm also really hoping to get into medicine next year, currently in the application process, so fingers crossed, let's see how it goes. If you're new to the channel, make sure to check out my other videos, and if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe down the bottom. Alright, so today really I'm just here to talk about section 1 of the Gamsat. So in no way did I really ace this section at all, but hopefully through giving you guys a bit of insight into how I tackled the section, it will give you guys a little bit of knowledge and maybe clear it in your minds a little bit to help you guys tackle it and prepare for it when you sit it. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so this video is going to be broken up into 4 parts. So point 1 is that comprehension is not always the key to answering the question. Point 2 is to read widely. Point 3, vocab growth. And then point 4 is something that I like to call the 50-50 split. Now, I'll have timestamps down in the description if you want to jump around through wherever or however you want to go about through the video. Quick little sidebar before we get into things. I completely understand and recognize that this section is heavily biased towards people who have studied English before or who are just a little bit more in tune with the English language and actually understand literacy techniques and analyzing passages better than others. However, in saying this, I am awful at English. I've never been good at English my whole life. However, through using these techniques and studying in these ways, I did actually do pretty well on the Gamsat when I sat it compared to what I thought I would have. So through showing you guys exactly what I did leading up to the test, I'm confident that you guys studying it will also be able to perform much better than expected. So some of the skills that the pieces in the Gamsat Section 1 are trying to test you in is your ability to understand the text in a deeper level while also maintaining a strong understanding of the narrative that's being shown. Now, I know this seems really daunting at first, and trying to break down all of these complex passages just seems like such a big drag and just so overwhelming. However, I think it can be made much simpler than that. And through practicing a lot of this and through sitting the Gamsat twice, I've actually developed a bit of a way to tackle these questions and realized that it's actually much simpler than it seems. So straight away, when you're about to tackle a question, don't look at the text whatsoever. I know, it seems counterproductive, but don't look at the text. Go to the answer. Go to the first answer that you're trying to answer, I suppose, and look at the solutions that it gives you. And if you look at all 4 of them, you could probably work out that at least 2 of them, so like A and B or C and D or whatever, but 2 of them are pretty similar. Now this is important, but I'll explain why it's important in point 4. So now that you've got these answers and you've had a look at them, understand what they're asking and understand what each one means. And once you've got that, you can actually look and try and see if in the answer it wants you to look at a specific passage or a specific section of the text, and then go to that text, only that specific text, and generally through reading that and analyzing it, you should be able to warrant an answer from it. So when answering these questions, no other info matters. I've always found that through looking at the specific section of the question that you're looking for, the answer is very basically outlined in at least 1 sentence there. It's just a matter of picking up on it, and that's the tricky part, because generally the Gamsat will outline it in that sentence, but in a format that is different to the provided solutions. That's the key to cracking section 1. You don't need to understand complex English or be able to derive meaning from abstract poems all the time. Yes, this is important, but for the majority of cases, it's not the case. All you need to be able to do is to hone into those answers and then derive a synonymous meaning in the text that you're looking through in the passage. So this whole idea of reading widely and reading far and reading constantly, always, is all you see whenever you Google or you go on Reddit and you're always looking for, how do I maximize my section 1 understanding? It's always read. Which isn't entirely wrong, but don't read specific texts just because it showed up in a Gamsat X amount of years ago, because the chances of you lucking out and that actually being on the test is just phenomenal, let alone that the Gamsat can add it in and then use it as a comparison to another passage or another book and completely throw your understanding of the book out the window entirely. So if you are going to read books that you actually want to read. Don't go reading books that you think you have to read, otherwise you're not going to enjoy it and you're not going to actually derive any understanding and logical conclusions from what you're looking at. So read philosophy, read poems if you want to, read abstract fiction, just as long as you're trying to gauge a conceptual understanding of the themes and the messages that they're trying to convey. Read for comprehension, be diligent, and record what your thoughts are and what you think the author's trying to get across as you go. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, it's not the point and it doesn't matter. If you're reading something pretty complex and you really actually want to know how you're going and if you're understanding, Google a discussion. There's plenty out there and you'll find something. But just do it. It's a great way to build that process up and train those brain muscles, I suppose, whatever you'd call it, so that when you go and sit section 1, you already have a logical flow and an idea of how to actually derive an understanding of a text in your mind so that it's easier and it takes less time on the day. So something that I haven't actually seen recommended and shown around a lot is tools and apps to actually build your vocabulary. So your list of usable and accessible words at any one moment. So I stumbled across vocabulary.com, which is this incredible website, completely free. Pretty sure all you do is you just sign up to an account and bam, you're good to go. So essentially it just gives you a set of words that you have to study over a program per se, and it doesn't tell you what those words are. And what it might ask you to do is that it might get you to define the word, or it might get you to derive its meaning from a sentence, and then ultimately spelling the word in a sentence, which results in mastering the word. And every time you get it correct and every time you get it wrong, it shows you, a meaning, a bit of a history of the word, and some of the different ways that it can be used, which is really helpful and really beneficial when you're just starting out and you're not really sure what the word actually means. So yeah, with each correct question, your mastery of that word actually goes up. And then if you get it wrong, it just stays the same. But what I really like about it is that it's actually scaled based on how well you've done answering questions based on that word in the past. So yeah, I absolutely love this website. I'm not endorsed by them in any way whatsoever at all, but I really think it's a great tool, especially for the Gamsat, at building your vocabulary over time, because it presents the questions in such a way that it's actually really similar to Anki cards in that it spaces them out and then makes you actively recall that information, which is perfect for your genuine, real retention of knowledge. So the way I studied with vocabulary.com is that you can either just click learn and do your run-of-the-mill words and just generates random ones for you forever, like non-stop. Or what I did is that there's actually an activity section, and if you go to an activity section called rhetoric, it actually tests you on literary terms and rhetoric phrases, which to me is so high yield because ACE love to test you on literary terms and rhetoric devices all the time. So yeah, I think if you guys manage to do this consistently every day, it'll make actually sitting the test not as daunting and confronting when ACE throws some poem from the 1960s using old-fashioned English in your face and you barely understand half the words in the passage. Lastly, this is probably the biggest way to narrow down your chances of finding the correct answer without having intricate knowledge of the text and the passage. Every question has the potential to be 50-50 split straight down the middle. If you look at all 4 possible solutions for an answer to a question in the test, you'll find that at least 2 of them every time are always really, really similar, but they differentiate themselves just enough so that they are viable as separate answers. So the key here is to actually find the 50-50, split it, then find which 50-50 pertains to the text or to the question, and then being able to derive the correct answer out of that 50-50 the majority of the time. So being able to determine the answer from that 50-50 split relates back to that first point I mentioned about breaking it down into simple English, because I guarantee you the word will reveal what the answer is in the sentence or the specific part of the passage that you're asked to analyze. Now this is the exact method that I used for my section 1 and it served me pretty well, so I don't see why it can't serve you well too. So yeah, that's essentially how I tackled the section 1 in the Gamsat and how I would teach other people to tackle it when they go to sit it. If you've got any other section 1 tips that you'd like to share, leave a comment down below explaining them so that others can benefit from it as well, and I'll also check them out. If you're new to the channel, make sure to check out my other videos, and I've got some Gamsat videos for section 2 and section 3 coming up in the next coming weeks, so if you don't want to miss them, make sure to hit that like and subscribe down the bottom so you're notified when they come up. Also, it really helps the channel and I genuinely appreciate it. Alright, thanks guys. Until next time, see yous.